Alright, so welcome to Cooking with Captain Ed. I've got a quick hit from, let's see, Robert Timms on the Synyster Gates School. He saw some of the other stuff that I did with demoing the cabs, and he wanted to hear the Synyster ISO Cabinet. The ISO cab is it's an isolated cabinet, hence the name. But it's what Syn uses on stage. You know, you go to a concert and you see this wall of Marshalls or a wall of Hellwinds or whatever, and usually those are just empty boxes. They don't have speakers in them because they don't get heard, they don't get used. They're just there for looks. They're part of the set dressing, part of the stage. Haha, no pun intended. But what usually happens, and we'll see on this upcoming tour, whenever that may be, if Syn just go ahead and goes full modeling and uses his model of the ISO cab live, or if he actually continues to bring his ISO cab with him and put a mic on it, and that's what the live sound gets at the shows. What the ISO cab is, it's an isolated cabinet. It's put in a soundproof box. It's usually like a 1x12 speaker that the artist really likes the sound of. They take the time to mic it up carefully, and then they nail, bolt, or screw, or whatever, everything down exactly where it is, the microphone, everything, wrap it with gaffer tape and God knows what, to get that sound exact, so that whenever they plug the inputs into the ISO box night after night, they get the same sound going into the microphone, allowing for changes in atmosphere and whatever. But that's typically minimal, and sound guy will know how to overcome and work around that. So this model was Syn's ISO cab, and the reason I didn't use it in the previous video is because with the tones that I'd built for myself, they were built more around a 4x12 cabinet, and putting it up to the ISO cabinet, it sounded really, really thin and not at all good. And it wouldn't be a good representation of what it was because I didn't have a tone that was dialed in for it. So Robert asked about that on the Synyster Gates School site, syngates.com, and in the forum. And so I said, let me switch over to that cabinet and dial in what I can for a quick tone and get there. And like what happens with modelers a lot, it's both rewarding and frustrating, is that within 10 minutes I had a tone that I liked a lot more than the tone that I've been tweaking for the last year. Yay! So I've actually switched over to using the ISO cab. I wound up switching the amplifier that I use for my main tone. I'm going to switch over and show you a little bit about what I've got going on here now, and we'll bring that to the front. And let me see if I can do that. There we go. Oh, that's, yeah, I didn't want to, no. Oh, I see. Okay, never mind. So we'll just bring myself down really, really small, and you can see what I've got going on here. I'll make it a little bit bigger. So, so what we're looking at here is, this is my main rhythm channel, and I'll let you, well, we'll hear a little bit of it right now. So you can hear that. You can hear it's a very high gain tone. We'll go into that in the amp section here real quick. I've got more gain than I usually use. On my main tone, I did switch over from the 5153 blue to the red. And the reason I had auditioned them both when I was using my 4x12 cabinets, and I'd actually chosen the blue because it wasn't as thick and muddy on the bottom end. So that worked well with the 4x12 cabinets. When I switched over to the ISO, I thought, you know what, let me switch over to the red and see how that works. And it works really well with Syn's ISO cab. All of the cabinets in the Syn pack are really, really modeled well. I don't get any weird IR artifacts, which, as I covered in the last video, I do hear definitely in the Fractal cabs, and I also heard them in the ML Labs Zilla cabs from Misha Mansour. Not as often and not a lot. It was only when I was doing some really weird, stupid stuff that I would hear these little anomalies. Maybe other people would hear them, maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. I don't care. I heard them, and they would take me out of the moment. So Syn's cabs don't seem to have any of those. I've been using them for quite a few months. I haven't encountered anything like that. But what we've got here, I've got the basic amp cab. As you come over, we look at the cab. You can see I've got Syn's ISO cab in here. All of the settings are basically stock. I haven't touched anything in any of these with the exception of the high cut. And I put that to 5,000, which I do on all of my dirty channel sounds, just because it's a matter of personal preference. I like the guitar sitting, especially a dirty electric guitar. I like that sitting between 100 hertz and 5,000 hertz, 5 kilohertz. And that leaves, it's a defined area where the guitar can sit in a recording. And, that leaves other areas in the high up in the air for vocals or other melodic instruments. It leaves area below for the bass guitar. And it's for me, that's where it sits well. So I shape my sound around that so that when it comes time to record, my tone is already ready. It's a recording ready tone. And then I usually, in the AxeFX on the unit itself, I'm pointing that way, it's actually down there, I'll adjust the output EQ on the output that goes out to my full range flat response speaker, and tweak any EQ for a live setting there. So that's that. You can see I've got the cab, like I said, stock settings there. Back to the amp. This is definitely not stock. I've got the drive high, and I've got a very bass heavy and mid heavy EQ curve. I think I did some EQing in the graphic EQ section too. We'll get that. I brought the presence down, brought the depth down a little bit, brought the master volume way, way up. And on a lot of these amp models, the master volume really does work like the volume on the amplifier itself. And a lot of tube amps, they really don't start to sound great until you've got that volume cranked. And that's what you're getting here with this. This does not go to 11. I am not Nigel. This is a guitar that you can point at. So, yeah. And then moving on, I did go into the preamp. You see I've just got, a little bit more of that curve going in here, where I've got a little bit of focus on the low mids and the mids. Really kind of getting into the low range. And I could just as easily drop out the 63 hertz altogether, because it won't really matter because that's cut out of the cabinet. But I've left it in here. As you can see, I did trim out the 8K here. But I've got just a little 2.5 dB boost at 125, 3.5, just got a little hump, a little curve up here. And that's really all I've done there. And nothing else I touched, left the tubes alone. Everything else is stock. So that's that. I've got that going into a noise gate, which I typically have set up to kick in right when the volume goes off, so that I can still do some low tune stuff like that. You can hear, let me turn the tone down. So you can hear that the notes still fade off fairly natural. I may have to do a little bit of tweaking on that. And then I just go into a delay. I keep this very low. It's only a 10% mix. Um, and not a whole lot. Let me see, where's the speed? I don't even see where. I don't even remember where I adjust the speed on this. Is it on mod? I can't even remember. I don't use a ton of delay. And you see I've even got it's an old school delay. There's a lot of different delays that you have on tap, a lot of modern stuff, stereo and digital stuff. I get into a little bit more of that when I'm dealing with a clean tone, because I like a little bit more delay on the clean tones, and if I'm experimenting with like Misha-like stuff and all that ambient stuff, the mono tape delay is not really what you want. But when you're going for a good old school or even modern metal sounding rhythm tone, that's still really good. Got a flanger and a rotary that you can kick on for for different things. That's controlled with the foot pedal back there. Same thing with a phaser and a synth, and then I've just got some reverb, again really low, short and low. I keep the quality on high. In this case I'm using a medium room, and that's it. And that going right into the cabinet. And like I said, this is the out that goes straight into my unit for recording. And this one up here, I forget what I've got that one going to. I think that might actually be an artifact, because I had that in when I was, and I had that before the cab, because I was using my AxeFX in band practice with an actual tube amp and 4x12 speaker. So that was a good way to separate one from the other. I'll have to look into that after I'm done with the video and see if that's actually still doing anything. It may not be. But that's that, and that's the whole tone, and here it is again. So I hope this was helpful, and I overdid it. We'll catch you next time on Cooking with Captain Ed. It's Captain Ed signing off. Have a good one. Helps if I look at the camera. Take it easy. Rock on.